Right now.
Live with local coverage you can count on. This is the CBS 42 Morning News.
We begin this morning with breaking news. The Alabama Law Enforcement Agency has issued an emergency missing child alert. The Childersburg Police Department needs your help to find a missing 15-year-old. They're looking for Maya McCormick. She was last seen last night before 11 p.m. in the area of 16th Court Northwest in Childersburg. Investigators say she was last seen getting into a white and gray vehicle. If you've seen her, call the Childersburg Police Department. That number 256-761-1556. Good morning. I'm Michelle Logan. You're watching the CBS 42 Morning News. Thanks for waking up with us. It's 6 o'clock this Saturday, May 23rd. The Memorial Day weekend comes with some upsetting news for entertainment venues in Jefferson County. Just one day after Governor Kay Ivey announced entertainment venues around the state could reopen, the Jefferson County Health Department imposes stricter guidelines.
The following entertainment venues shall remain closed: nightclubs, concert venues, theaters, auditoriums, and performance arts centers, tourist attractions including museums and planetariums, racetracks, indoor children's play areas, adult entertainment venues, casinos, bingo halls, and venues operated by social clubs.
These venues will be closed until June 6th. Dr. Wilson says coronavirus cases have been trending up since the last order was issued statewide on May 8th. He says since that order, the number of people hospitalized went from 103 to 130. We stopped by Hush Lounge in Birmingham's 5 Points South last night. The owner says he is disappointed by the decision. Ryan Pryor says he believes entertainment venues should be handled like other businesses that were allowed to reopen.
Give us some guidelines to operate by. Don't just close us down. Go through the process of opening back up. What's my customer base going to be like?
Dr. Wilson says he's been in contact with the state health officer, Dr. Scott Harris. He says Dr. Harris is supportive of these changes. The owners of Alabama Adventure say the new Jefferson County health order puts their reopening date in jeopardy. They plan to reopen their amusement park and water parks on May 30th, but said in a statement in part, quote, "Due to an unforeseen last-minute order by Jefferson County, we have been completely caught off guard by their latest restrictions, which contradict Governor Ivey's order. At this time, we cannot guarantee a May 30th opening." They say they'll keep customers updated. Meantime, over in Shelby County, people were bowling at Oak Mountain Lane in Pelham. The business reopened Friday evening. The general manager says groups have been spaced out every other bowling lane about 10 feet. Also, sanitation specialists are available to disinfect chairs, tables, balls, and touchscreens. The general manager says reopening meant a lot to him and his team. Let's take a look now at the number of confirmed cases of coronavirus in Alabama. The Alabama Department of Public Health says there are 13,670 cases. The state has seen more than 4,000 cases in the past 14 days. The number of deaths grew to 541. New this morning, Georgetown coach and Knicks legend Patrick Ewing has tested positive for the coronavirus. Ewing shared the diagnosis on Twitter Friday. He's under doctor's care and isolated in a hospital. Ewing says he wanted to emphasize that the virus can affect anyone. Dr. Anthony Fauci is answering your questions this weekend on the Nexstar Digital Original Coronavirus House Calls. CBS 42 News anchor Jack Royer explains Fauci is optimistic about medical treatments being studied right now.
Dr. Anthony Fauci says the COVID-19 pandemic has been a worst nightmare scenario, but he remains optimistic about emerging treatments, a possible vaccine, and beginning to reopen the country.
The new normal will likely be for at least a cycle or more through seasons.
Caution from Dr. Anthony Fauci, the head of the National Institutes of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, appearing on coronavirus house calls this weekend, saying Americans should remain focused on preventing the spread of the virus.
The real determining factor to put this into the history books will be if we get a safe and highly effective vaccine.
A coronavirus vaccine is already showing promise in early clinical trials. All 45 people in a trial from drug maker Moderna produced antibodies for the virus.
The levels of antibody are high, the titers are high, even at a modest dose. That's not the end game, but it certainly makes us cautiously optimistic.
But its distribution is at best months away. And for people already sick with the virus,
We've talked about remdesivir.
Fauci says emerging treatments like remdesivir are encouraging.
So it's going to be distributed, hopefully as equitably as possible, based on the burden of disease and hospitalizations throughout the country.
In examining the nation's response to coronavirus, Fauci is focused on the future.
You could always find something that you could have done better, because we're just not perfect, but we've got to do what we can with what we have.
Dr. Fauci says the virus is being controlled in some parts of the country already, but he says precautions like social distancing and extra hand washing should remain in place for some time. I'm Jack Royer. Now back to you.
Thanks, Jack. You can see an extended conversation with Dr. Fauci this weekend on Coronavirus House Calls. It airs on CBS42.com and our Facebook page at 3 p.m. today. An exclusive conversation about virus treatments, what the new normal looks like, and how Fauci is spending his Memorial Day weekend. That's today at 3 p.m. only on CBS42.com. And switching gears now for a check of your weather with Storm Team meteorologist Griffin Hardy. Griffin, yesterday, I've got to say, I just pulled up the blinds and kind of watched the lightning show.
Yeah, there was plenty of that yesterday with all of the storms that developed later in the afternoon. We're seeing some pretty low cloud bases out there. The cameras just now obscured completely. Well, nope, some pockets of sunshine showing up as the clouds roll overhead. Right now, 69 degrees at the Birmingham airport. That's south wind coming in at 3 miles per hour. Dew point's pretty elevated as well in the mid-60s. With that, we have some fog that's developed. We got a dense fog advisory in effect until 9 a.m. this morning for a majority of the viewing area, with the exception of our northwestern counties, especially in Calhoun and Talladega counties. The fog is pretty thick over there, so just use your low beams. Take it nice and slow this morning. We did have quite a bit of hail yesterday with these storms that developed down in Shelby County and Jefferson County. We had golf ball-sized hail that fell near Calera, in Calera, near Calera Middle School. That developed yesterday. Here are the temperatures as you head out the door this morning. We've got low 60s over in East Alabama, upper 60s over in West Alabama, and we've got another line of storms that's developed early this morning that we're watching, but that should be dissipating within the next couple of hours, and that should stay out of our way. We're only really focused on this afternoon. The heat and humidity of the day, that's when the storms should start firing up. By 1 p.m., seeing some light showers starting to form, and then the storms really flare up later in the day by around 4 p.m. And most of us should make it into the upper 80s today. That same story continues for tomorrow as well. Rest of your Memorial Day weekend looking very summer-like with these afternoon showers and storms developing. I'll go over the forecast for the rest of the week ahead for next week, coming up in just a few minutes. Michelle, back over to you.
Thanks, Griffin. New this morning, Hertz rental car files for bankruptcy. The car rental company says an abrupt decline in revenue and future bookings is to blame. Hertz says it plans to stay in business and restructure its debt. The company already let go 12,000 employees in the U.S. Memorial Day weekend is usually one of the busiest travel holidays, but with COVID-19 restrictions, fewer people are expected to travel this year. In fact, travel experts predict this year's Memorial Day travel may be at a record low. For those who are planning to hit the roads or go to area lakes, troopers have a warning for you.
If you're too impaired to safely operate that motor vehicle and or vessel, then you will be arrested for driving under the influence and have to deal with the consequences. This is your warning. Do not get out there and endanger your life or other people's lives due to being under the influence.
All available troopers will be patrolling the highways this weekend. New this morning, it looks like the war of words between former Attorney General Jeff Sessions and President Trump continues. This latest chapter started again Friday when President Trump once again tweeted his support of Sessions' opponent, Tommy Tuberville. In the tweet, the president said Sessions recused himself, and that's when the fraudulent Mueller scam began. He advised Alabamians not to trust Sessions. It also had a link to Tuberville's campaign donation site. Sessions fired back in a tweet of his own. He said on Twitter, "Your personal feelings don't dictate who Alabama picks as their senator. The people of Alabama do." He also said his recusal was required by law. Sessions will face former Auburn football coach Tommy Tuberville in a runoff in July. It was originally scheduled for March, but had to be moved because of the coronavirus pandemic. Your time now is 6:09. Still ahead, making sure everyone has access to health care. Ahead, a look at what's being done to expand telehealth services. But first, a reversal for Birmingham City Schools. The updated information about graduation plans. That's next, Griffin.
Here's your hour-by-hour forecast with our temperatures climbing up into those mid-80s by 12 p.m., upper 80s later in the afternoon. We've got more of this. Tell you more where that came from. I got your beach forecasts and your 7-day forecast coming up after the break.